needs to work very quickly. We're sort of resetting everything from scratch.
There's a unique political window on all sides. If the nuclear crisis is ever to get resolved, now is the time for it to get resolved.
We have a chance to negotiate a comprehensive agreement that prevents a nuclear-armed Iran while avoiding yet another Middle East conflict.
Iran and the West are struggling towards a full, comprehensive nuclear deal.
Make no mistake, we have the opportunity to try to get this right.
Both sides hope it could be a new start after decades as enemies. Meanwhile, here in Connecticut, artists made their own attempt at friendship.
What we're trying to do is facilitate conversations that are not otherwise happening or haven't happened.
But instead of geopolitics, blown fuses and an unpredictable internet hampered the talks.
Hi. You've frozen, unfortunately. Hello?
It's a reminder of just how difficult it will be to overcome the distance between Iran and the West.
It's difficult to get a deal because you don't need one deal, you need three. You need one between the American negotiators and their European counterparts and the Iranians. That's probably the easiest deal. You need one between President Obama and the Congress. That's an increasingly difficult deal. And you need one between the Iranian negotiators and the Ayatollahs and the military, and that may be an impossible deal.
At a most basic level, Iran is weighing whether to trade limits on its nuclear program for the easing of economic sanctions.
آمریکایی‌ها مکرر تکرار میکنن میگن ما معتقدیم که توافق نکردن بهتر از توافق بد کردن است. بله ما هم همین رو عقیده داریم.
The oddity of this entire situation is that while the sanctions hurt the ordinary Iranian people, they actually benefit the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, who run all the black markets. If the sanctions got lifted, if we reached an agreement that made them all go away, so would that source of revenue for the elite.
Meanwhile, tensions remain deep on the American side. A speech from the Israeli Prime Minister and a letter from 47 Republican senators put U.S. politics in the middle of the negotiations.
My reaction to the letter was utter disbelief.
Republicans say they can amend any deal, and while there's debate about whether they have that authority, all sides recognize that only Congress can permanently remove Iran's sanctions.
The Iranian concern is what will happen after President Obama's term.
Americans are concerned about the long term. Once the deal has expired in 10 or 15 years, will Iran run a peaceful civil nuclear program or begin building bombs?
Iran will be treated like any other member of the Nuclear Nonproliferation Treaty. Their track record suggests that the last thing we should be doing is trusting them.
Iran's sponsorship of militant groups in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Lebanon raises the stakes.
They're very active in terms of trying to change the balance of power in the region. What happens when they're not under sanctions and they are continuing to act this way, and then they have more resources to do that?
Can Americans trust the Iranians? But many Iranians would ask the same thing of the Americans. Can Iranians trust America?
At some point, you really have to roll the dice.
Back in Connecticut, the portal eventually secured a steady internet connection, and a few sometimes awkward conversations began.
It's kind of hard to think about what to talk about.
Do you want to know about Iran or?
Soon there was a wait list for visits, and one day a 6th grade class offered another reminder of the stakes at the negotiating table.
You guys want to see a ballerina dance later?
There's this incredibly young, dynamic, educated population in Iran that is essentially pretty pro-American. And the big question is, can this young population win this one?
The breakdown of nuclear negotiations can be a very slippery slope, because if escalation ensues, if the United States furthers international sanctions, or if Iran reactivates its nuclear program, there may be greater possibility for conflict and war, and less grounds for peaceful resolution.